Have you ever told yourself that your real life will begin later? After you get that promotion, after the loan is finally paid off, after the timing just feels right. Ethan Walker used to believe that. At 38, he lived a quiet, dependable life in a small town just outside Des Moines, Iowa. He was the kind of guy you could count on. He worked hard, paid his bills on time, and always kept his promises. But over the years, dependable had quietly taken the place of driven. His daily routine was a blur of sameness: coffee, traffic, cubicle, clock out, couch. He told himself this was just a temporary phase, that everyone probably felt this way. What he didn't want to admit, even to himself, was that temporary had somehow stretched into more than a decade. Back in college, Ethan dreamed of building something of his own. It wasn't about chasing fame or fortune. He just wanted the deep satisfaction of creating something valuable, of solving a problem that actually mattered to people. He filled notebooks with sketches and ideas. He'd go on long walks, listening to podcasts about innovation, his mind buzzing with possibilities. In those moments, he felt truly alive. But then, reality started getting louder. Student loans came due. There were family expectations to meet. A safe, stable job offer came along, and taking it felt like the responsible thing to do. So Ethan did what so many of us do. He put his dream on the shelf and promised he'd get back to it later. Now just isn't the right time. That sentence became his mantra for years. It sounded so logical, so mature, so safe. But one evening, while cleaning out a dusty closet, he stumbled upon an old notebook. He opened it, and inside were his ideas, dated 15 years earlier. He read them slowly, one by one. They weren't foolish or unrealistic. They were simply abandoned. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. A single, powerful question echoed in his mind, over and over: how long can you keep calling fear patience? A week later, something happened that solidified this feeling. Ethan went to a retirement party for a coworker named Frank. Frank got up and gave a short, humble speech. He thanked everyone, smiled warmly, and then he said something that hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He said, "I always thought I'd do more later. Turns out, later comes a lot faster than you think." The room let out a polite, knowing laugh. But Ethan didn't laugh. He couldn't, because he knew exactly what Frank meant. He saw his own future in that one sentence. That night, Ethan sat down at his kitchen table and did something he hadn't done in a very long time. He told himself the truth, not the polite, sugar-coated version. Not the optimistic, it'll all work out version. The raw, honest truth. He admitted that if nothing changed, his life would be comfortable, but ultimately forgettable. It would be stable, but deeply unfulfilled. And for the very first time, Ethan looked himself in the eye and said it out loud. Waiting was no longer patience. It was avoidance. His next move wasn't dramatic. He didn't storm into his boss's office and quit. He didn't announce some grand, life-altering plan to his friends and family. He made a much smaller, but far braver, decision. He stopped waiting for permission. He committed to working on his old idea for just 1 hour every single weekday, no excuses. Not only when he felt inspired, not only when life was calm and predictable. Every single day. The first few weeks were humbling. Ethan felt slow, like he was hopelessly behind. He felt inexperienced. He'd scroll online and see younger people who seemed so much smarter, so much faster. The voice of doubt started creeping in, whispering, "You're too late. You should have started this years ago." But then, a freeing realization washed over him. Starting late is still starting. Not starting at all is the real failure. So, he pushed the doubt aside and just kept going. This was the quiet, unglamorous phase. There was no applause. Nobody even noticed what he was doing. He worked in silence. Late at night or early in the morning, he learned new skills. He made a lot of mistakes, and then he learned how to fix them. Some nights, the urge to just give up and go back to his comfortable couch was overwhelming. But instead of chasing fleeting motivation, he focused on building discipline. And discipline, he learned, shows up even when excitement doesn't. Then, after about 3 months, Ethan noticed a subtle shift. It wasn't in his results, those were still small. The change was in his identity. He stopped saying, "I wish I had a business." He started saying, "I'm working on my business." That tiny change in language changed everything, because he realized confidence doesn't come from big wins or external validation. It comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself. One evening, he built up the courage to share a small part of his project with a few people in an online group. The response wasn't some viral explosion of praise, but it was real. People were interested. They asked smart questions. And then one person wrote, "This really helped me." Ethan leaned back in his chair and just smiled. For the first time in over a decade, he felt useful beyond what his paycheck said he was worth. A year into this journey, Ethan faced a major choice. He could stay exactly where he was, safe, secure, and predictable, or he could start rearranging his life around the thing that now truly mattered to him. He didn't take a blind leap of faith. He planned it all out, meticulously. He cut his expenses, negotiated for more flexible hours at his day job, and took a calculated, well-thought-out risk. The fear was still there, of course, but this time, it felt different. It wasn't the paralyzing fear that kept him stuck on the couch. It was the electrifying fear that confirmed he was finally growing, finally stretching beyond his comfort zone. Through it all, Ethan learned the most powerful lesson of his life. There is no perfect time. There is only right now or regret. Waiting doesn't make your dreams safer. It just makes them heavier to carry. Ethan didn't get rich overnight. He didn't magically escape the challenges of hard work. But he gained something so much better. He gained ownership of his time. He earned a deep sense of pride in his own effort. He finally felt a true alignment between his daily actions and his core values. He stopped living his life in the future, in that imaginary world called after. He started living, right here and now, on purpose. If you keep waiting for the perfect moment, I promise you, it will pass you by. Your life doesn't begin later. It begins the moment you decide to stop waiting. Thanks for watching.